Almeda, there is something in the way we're raising our young people too often as college admission projects that kind of teaches them they're not to engage the world right now. They're to prepare for admission. They need to worry about the SAT preps and the all-state soccer, and don't worry about what, you'll do that later. And that doesn't strike most of us as a Jesus thing or a Christian thing. And I know that you have really made a point in your speaking and your reflection on helping young people understand Christianity is not just about learning that prayer at your bedside when you go home tonight. And it's even not just wandering down to the soup kitchen as if you don't have anything to do about why some people need soup kitchens. You want young people to understand and own their agency and their advocacy roles with respect to the systems and the culture that they're part of. Can you help us understand not just your perspective on that, but what you would recommend to youth ministers that they actually do to help young people begin to own their voice?
Part of this, and you've captured the dichotomy or some of the issues very well. We as a society want young people to kind of stay in the wings, kind of stay saying, all right, the stage is going to get set, and once you're prepared, once you've studied, then you can, enter stage, stage left. But it's one of these things, though, and by the way, that's so problematic to me because it's saying that young people are not people already. They don't have anything to contribute already. And Christian communities should be at the forefront of this conversation to the rest of society, saying, do not silence young people. 16-year-olds right now, 12-year-olds right now, not when they get older, not when they figure out how not to put their foot in their mouth, but right now have something that could help us see and live into our society and our community in a better way. And part of this comes along with this idea that sometimes in Christian communities, the pendulum swings, where we focus primarily on what I have called a personal Jesus, or focus primarily on what can God do for me, or about my personal relationship with God. And that's important, that's essential, that's necessary, but if that's the only focus, then we've missed a key part of the Christian story and what we want to invite young people into. Because the other part of this is that out of what we experience to be the love of God should also be a catalyst to respond to that love so that others can experience. And that's not just to witness and say, well, come be saved. But it's also to think about how is it that our society is structured, how are you living, what resources are available, what systems and structures are in place that allow some to flourish, others not to flourish, others to really have dehumanized and oppressed situations that are normal for them. And some of the things, by the way, all of this are tough topics that youth ministers sometimes will shy away from. But young people are already thinking about them. They're on Twitter, they're reading, they're in conversations, reading stuff and looking at ideas of like sex trafficking or looking at global poverty and pushing us to raise awareness. And then we bring them to church and be like, well, we're going to do one service project and it's going to be something that's not directly related to something you're concerned about. And again, it tells young people what is driving you, what you're passionate about has to wait, has to be put off until you go and get your, college undergraduate and your MD and whatever. And so some of the stuff that I want to invite youth workers and parents to do is to pause a little bit, to spend time listening to the passions, to the dreams, to the wisdom that young people have right now. And to be able to say to them, and sometimes even mirror back to them, wait a minute, you're really excited about this. You're really upset when you read this news article about this. You didn't understand why young people could get kidnapped because they were in Nigeria for going to school. And that put a burning inside of you. Let's listen. Let's pay attention. And then let's think about what we can do. It's that last part that we often miss. We can read together, we can kvetch together, we can do all these things, but when you actually say, well, what about it? What is it that we can do about it? And easily we can throw up our hands and say, it's too big, it's global, or it's too far gone. But other times we're like, is there a letter I can write? Is there a congressman or woman that should have something to say, who can change policy or push or lobby for this particular issue? And teaching young people, because they're getting it in government and civics in high school, and they're studying for AP government, so they know how the government works probably better than us adults who have forgotten that a long time ago. And so we can say, wait a minute, your generation knows more about grassroots organizing and internet organizing and things like that than most of us have forgotten. So there is some place that you can plug into and immediately, right now, this week, begin to do something. And that small conversation of pausing and asking and then looking at resources with young people begins to create, if you will, a shift in the way that we even understand who we are in terms of a body of Christ. We're not just a worshiping community. We should be an acting community. We should be a witnessing community in terms of social witness. And that's part of the heritage that we've got to invite young people into, so that they don't just see it's me and Jesus, but it's me, Jesus, in the world, or me as an agent or model of a revolutionary Messiah like Jesus that has something to say to principalities and powers or systems and structures or Congress or governments.